Great. Welcome, you guys. This is, I think, the 7th meeting on the Yoga Sutra. Took us, right, the 7th one? All right. Let's begin with the invocation. Sahana vavatu, sahana vavatu, sahanao bhunaktu, sahanao bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvina vadhitamastu, Tejasvina vadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Inhale for Om. Om Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Shari Rasya cha Vaidyakena Yopakarotam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjali Ranatosmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakrasi Dharinam Sahasrashirasham Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Srimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha Om. Okay, thank you. So, where did we leave off?
We finished the first sutra. Yes.
We finished the first chapter.
Oh, we did. Oh, yeah, we did. You're right.
We finished the first chapter.
I'm like, wait. That's what I had pinned last.
So we are one quarter of the way through. So today I wanted to spend a little time reviewing, discussing, and then introducing the second chapter. The first chapter is Samadhi Pada. Samadhi is the 8th limb of Ashtanga Yoga. So he begins by describing what is yoga, the states of yoga. Do that later. The states of yoga, or mental states of concentration or absorption. We haven't gotten that far yet in the second. We haven't even started the second chapter. The second chapter is where he breaks down what is Ashtanga Yoga. The last 3 steps in Ashtanga Yoga, steps 6, 7, and 8, are the 3 stages of meditation. We studied the final stage of meditation just now. So reviewing, what is Samadhi? he laid out several types of samadhi. The two classes of samadhi are sabija and nirbija samadhi. Sa means with seed, or with an anchor, with a mantra, with an object, gross or subtle. And then there's nirbija samadhi. Nirbija means without seed, bij means seed. So therefore, this is the highest level. It breaks up into two classes. Within the lower class, there are even different levels, right? So different levels of absorption or meditation, right? The first part of this, the first part of the chapter, he mentions the 5 different chitta vrittis, five different chitta vrittis. What are the 5 different chitta vrittis?
Right knowledge.
Right knowledge.
Incorrect knowledge.
Incorrect knowledge. Imagination. Sleep. And memory. You really have to understand these things, these 5 activities of the mind, because when you start to meditate, you're going inside. And oftentimes we said that people who are saying they're meditating or trying to meditate are really in one of these 5 states. They're either remembering something or they're fantasizing something, right? It's whenever you are cognizant of an object, trying to understand an object, is whether you understand or misunderstand the object. It usually involves a conversation, a person, or whatever. But when you're inside, you're dealing with mostly 3 things that are happening. You're either falling asleep, you're fantasizing, or you're remembering. If you understand these states of awareness, or these mental activities, then you can start to understand your whole experience in life much better. Most recently, I saw on Instagram, Satguru. You guys know, ever heard of Satguru? The yogi, the Satguru? Okay. He's an online yogi. He's a real yogi. And he's got his international following. He's there talking with Mike Tyson recent. And Mike Tyson, I don't know if you know, he's sort of on this journey of enlightenment as well. And hang on, I feel like I want to see everybody. Why are you, Valerie, Josh, Sarah, you guys' videos are off. I like to see you guys when I'm lecturing, if possible. You don't have to, but I would prefer it. Anyways, he's on this journey of enlightenment, and he's been reflecting on, Mike Tyson was reflecting on his early childhood. He said, I was just scared. I was scared. And Satguru's response to him, he was speaking about the chitta vrittis. He didn't say it was chitta vrittis, but he was like, you're either fantasizing or imagining something that's not really there. You're projecting yourself in the future, which is you're suffering because of something that doesn't exist, the future, or you're remembering something in the past. So he's using these imagination and memory. And I was like, wow, it's very applicable. So when you go into your meditations, you're gonna have an object, and that object is your chitta vritti. That object is your chitta vritti. What is the object? Your chitta vritti. Your chitta vritti, right? Whatever chitta vritti is happening at the time. So if you're in your meditation, the object is the chitta vritti. Is the projection, is the activity of your mind. You, the observer, are observing an object. What is that object? That object is your chitta vritti. Your chitta vritti is your entire experience. What is that experience? I'm experiencing a fantasy, or I'm experiencing a memory, or I'm experiencing sleep. Remember, the 5 activities, the first 2 were thrown out. We're only concentrating on the last 3. Right? You're either imagining, remembering, or sleeping in your meditation, or trying to meditate. If you're doing these things, you're not in meditation. You got to quiet the mind. So when the mind becomes quiet, you enter this state of samadhi. The first stage of samadhi is being able to concentrate so much on a particular object, you understand it. Like, for example, you understand this imagination process that's happening, this fantasizing process, right? This, or you're understanding what this memory is that you're experiencing, right? You got to slow down your mind enough to understand what's happening. Right. At some point, you'll get past that, and then it'll be seedless, nirbija samadhi, where the mind's completely quiet and you don't need anything to get there. These are the different levels of samadhi, absorption. And then he goes and describes a lot of these states in the last 20 sutras or so, right? And then he says, at the very end, he says, a mind that is capable of going into samadhi all the time is then full of truth. So you start to accumulate more and more truth in your chitta, because you're starting to now see more clearly the world around you and inside of you, that things are more clear. After a period of time, your mind becomes full of truth. I think that's the 48th sutra. Vritam bharatatra prajna. At that point, your mind becomes full of truth. Because right now, our mind's full of truth and untruth. There's some things that we know are true and some things that are untrue that we think are true. Y'all with me? Right now, before we can do samadhi, then we are full of, it's a mix, truth and untruth. As you start to learn to meditate and clear your mind, then you start to realize, oh, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, and you start accumulating more truth. Does that make sense? This is a result of meditation. Then he goes on and says, and what is the truth? What is the truth that the yogi wants? What is the truth that the yogi wants? The truth about oneself. What is the truth about me? That's the goal. All other truths are the lower truths. The highest truth that a yogi can get is the truth about myself. I want to know what is true about me. Remember, the whole thing about this is like yoga is a process of self-realization, self-actualization, or an adhyatma, the study of one's self. So the goal of all this is what? To figure out the truth of who I am. With that said, do we have any comments or questions or something you want to ask or say about this? I'd like to open up the floor to comments or questions at this point.
Right, I have a question.
Okay, Daniel has a
Okay,
question.
So you're in meditation, and let's just say your mind just like starts kind of, I guess, more of fantasy imagination, but you're not even doing the imagining, you're just seeing things. But if you focus on it, it goes away.
Okay, so let me repeat what you said.
Yeah.
So Danielle said, if you're in meditation but you see that your mind is creating a fantasy, but then when you focus on it, it goes away.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you mean it goes away? Like blank?
Like I'm not running my mind. Like I'm just seeing things, or there's like this story going on, but I'm not running it. I'm just able to see it. But if I focus on it, then it just stops, and I don't even know what's going on.
Did you guys hear that on your end? She said she said there's a story that's sort of running that she's not running. She sees it, and but when she tries to focus on it, it goes away.
Yeah.
Is that what
it's happening? Yeah. I focus on it, it goes away.
Okay.
Could be like slight dreaming too, in a way.
I'm sorry?
Slight dreaming.
Could be a slight dreaming. Okay. So so then my question is, what's the difference between daydreaming and dreaming? Is there a difference?
Not sure.
Is there a difference?
Yeah, in dreams you're actually interacting in it. Like physically, if you feel you're living in it.
So in a dream, you're actually living it. Let me ask you this then. Have you ever had a dream where you weren't present? Has anyone had a dream where they weren't present?
Like when you're watching the dream?
Yeah. Like you're there. You're there to experience the dream. Have you had? Has anyone?
All the time.
I'm sorry.
Dreams like that all the time. It's like I'm watching a movie.
I can't see you. Who is that? No.
Sarah, I'm sorry, I don't have my camera on.
There you go. I see. Okay.
I have dreams like that all the time. Like I'm watching other people's lives. like I'm hovering over top and watching a whole, like, I don't know, a whole different person's existence.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm the same. I have them occasionally where it's like you're watching a movie, just like she said. It's not like you're involved in the story. It's like you're watching the story.
Okay. Anybody else? So Josh agrees, nods his head. What, you agree? Is that it?
Yeah, I think I will echo Teresa and Sarah, but also I feel I lived both of them. So one where I watched, and the other one where I was there, I was present, I was experiencing the dream at the same time.
Okay. All right. You guys. Yeah, what?
Happens all the time.
Where?
Yeah, you're dreaming and I'm not in the dream, I'm watching. It's like
So-
you're watching a movie.
Okay, but you're there to watch.
But I'm there to watch. Well, maybe not. I mean,
Well, who was watching
I
then?
don't know.
Well, who was watching?
I don't know.
Was it you?
Yep, there wasn't there. Yeah.
You were there. You were watching. In every single case that you just mentioned here, you were there to watch. Who was watching? Who was observing? You were observing. So you were there. No one's ever had a dream where they weren't there. No one's ever had a dream where you weren't there. You might not have projected yourself to be a participant in what you were watching, but you were watching something. There was a part of you that was watching it. There was a part of you that was perceiving. The witness, the awareness. You were aware of something. That something was your dream. So you were there. Right? It's like you didn't hear about the dream. No one told you about the dream. You didn't read about the dream. You were there to experience it. You had a firsthand experience. That is a direct experience. You were there. Maybe not in the form that you think you ought to be or identify with, but some part of you that was there, some part of you was there to experience the dream. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had the dream.
So you're saying when she's meditating and she says that she's not running it, and there's something happening, it really is her running it.
No, it's running. The program is running, but she's there to watch it. She's not the mind. The mind is doing its thing. It's called samskara. So she's experiencing the samskara, the patterns and tendencies of her own mind. She's watching it. Who's watching it? I am watching it. Who's I? The awareness. You understand? You never had a dream where you weren't present. Otherwise, you would have been asleep. Are y'all with me? Do you have 100% buy-in on this one? Because you got to. Otherwise, we can't move forward.
I'm in.
Have you had a dream where you weren't present? No. No. You've never had a dream where you weren't present. So what was it that you were experiencing? You were experiencing a dream. That dream was a projection of your mind. That projection is called swapna. I asked Ramaswamy, I go, so is swapna the same thing as vikalpa? He goes, yes, you're getting it. It's imagination. Dream is the same as imagination. But in the dream, there was a self. There was an observer. You observed it, you retained it, you remembered it. That's why you can come out and then in your wake state, access that memory. You had an experience that didn't go away. That's what memory is. Memory is an experience that doesn't go away. In your dream, you have an experience that everything is real. And you are the main character in your story. Whether observing, like Charles Dickens, what do you call it? Christmas Carol. Yes, where he goes and visits, the ghosts of Christmas past or present or future or whatever. He goes and observes. The ghost is observing. The ghost is the spirit, the soul, the awareness. So in your dream state, your chitta, your mind, it creates a self that you identify with to be you. Sometimes that self that's in the dream could be just the entity that observes. Or it could take the form of my present self, 46-year-old bald-headed Ricky Tran. Or it could have been my high school guy thought he was so cool, had good hair, whatever. Or maybe I'm like in another body, or maybe I'm a friend. All of a sudden I take on a different form, an avatar in my dream. But regardless, it projects a self that I identify with in a world that is, to me, real. But the yogis say it's not real. It's swapna, it's your imagination, right? And so meditation, in order to meditate, so did I answer your question?
Yeah.
I don't know if I did or not, but yeah, so in meditation, you're not having any of these experiences. Does that make sense? You transcend the 5 chittavrittis. You're not sleeping. You're not misunderstanding or understanding something correctly. You're not remembering anything, and there's no fantasy. And you're not asleep. It's similar to a sleep state because there are no chittavrittis. In your dreams, so when you're awake, there's a self here that's having this conscious experience, or maybe unconscious experience, but I'm awake in wake state where I'm using my senses to experience the world outside of me. In my dream state, my senses stop working, and my mind creates another self, and then it has an experience where there are things outside of me, and then there's me in the dream, right? But then in a sleep state, there's no me. There's no me. If there's no me, I don't experience anything. That's why you go through a period of time where I don't know where I was, who I was, or when I was. That's called nidra. I'm in a state of sleep. It's kind of like you black out. That's sleep. Dream, there's still a storyline. There's still a character, a main character, me, I. Wake state, same idea. Same thing's happening. Okay, y'all with me? So samadhi is transcendence of all these 3 states: awake, sleep, and dream. Transcendence is to experience the state that's beyond these 3 states. And you can get that through samadhi. Total concentration. Okay? Any other questions? Good question. Because that swapna, I don't think he only mentioned one thing in here about swapna. He says to pay attention to your dreams, right? Or is that another chapter? Was it in this chapter? I don't know anymore. He said pay attention. Yeah, I think it's the next chapter. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, we definitely talked about it.
All right. Good question. What else?
Ricky.
Yes, sir. It's Josh.
Yeah, so I wanted to share an experience if I could take about 1 minute.
Yeah. Can you guys hear him? Okay, I can. Hang on. I think I can make this sound different. Speaker. We're gonna go with the Roku TV. Sound check. Say something.
Yo.
Yo. Got it.
All right. So last Monday I went to the sweat lodge, and it was all in Spanish, and I don't understand too much Spanish. And we were doing some chanting, and yeah, so anyways, I got caught up in my breath, and I heard a voice say, "Close your eyes, child." And it was a sweet motherly voice, and then I was like, what was that? And so after I got out of the sweat lodge, I was on this high or cloud 9, but I thought about that voice and what it meant to me the following morning. And yeah, it was just like, close your eyes, child. You don't need anything external for any type of validation. You need to seek within yourself. And I don't know, I just found that like a really profound moment. And I don't know if you could elaborate on that or what exactly it was, because it was an audible voice. I talked to Dana a little bit about it, and she was like, yeah, that was a moment of Samadhi Pada. And I was just wondering what you thought.
Good question. So you were the experiencer, and the object that you experienced was a voice.
Correct.
What the voice was a real voice, like an actual voice?
Yeah, it sounded like a a mother's voice.
Right.
Mhm.
So your interpretation of a sound is mother's voice.
Right.
So let's be clear on that, right? So you had an experience, and this is how you interpreted it. Now, whether that experience was an actual voice or an imaginary voice, we don't know. Only you would know. And so me trying to guess what it is just just guess. I don't know. That was your experience.
But
So,
would you say that was a moment of Samadhi Pada, or
was it samadhi? Well, were you concentrating on an object?
just my breath?
Right. So then if you were one with your breath, then that would be samadhi on your breath. But you're concentrating on your breath and then you heard something else. That's not samadhi, according to the Yoga Sutra. Samadhi is a concentration on a particular object and understanding that object. So you had an experience that would be classified within the 5 chitta vrittis. Was it an object that was there? And did you understand it correctly or incorrectly? Did you imagine the object? Did you remember the object and think that it was real? Or were you asleep? That's how I would explore this further. But coming to the conclusion that it was samadhi, it doesn't make sense to me at all. Actually, I don't understand that. My mind doesn't compute. I feel, like malfunction. That's sort of what's going on in my brain. So, I would say that's either classified as either right knowledge, wrong knowledge, or imagination, unless you had an experience in the past that was similar to that, and because you were in such an elevated state that your memory came back, and the memory of the experience was so real that you thought it was actually there. So then, it's so hard to tell the difference between a memory and a fantasy sometimes. You see what I'm saying? You got to really get in there and you can meditate on that experience moving forward. So instead of the object being your breath, meditate on that experience, but that's actually that doesn't work, because now you're meditating on a memory and then the memories change. There's a theory that says that every time you try to access a particular memory, the memory will change. Have you heard this theory? So you can't rely on your memories. It's kind of like we're relying on eyewitness X or eyewitness witnesses.
Testimonies.
Testimonies, right. But yeah, it's like you can't rely on it because their perceptions are not true or not right. So, you take a married couple that's been together for 5 decades, and you ask them how they first met, you're probably going to tell you 2 different stories.
Right.
So it's like, how true are these memories? So I don't know. I would not classify that as samadhi. Pada means chapter. So, but yeah, I don't know. I would just oftentimes, hindsight's 20/20. You can see things clearly in the rear view. Here's what happens when I meditate. I try to get to the point where my mind is completely quiet. In that quietude, that quiet space, things will pop up, and oftentimes those things are solutions or answers to questions I've been asking. So you ask the question, go into silence, and then maybe the answer arises. Now, then you can go crazy thinking about these things. And I was like, all right, so where did that message come from? Mm-hmm. Was it a drop, from the divine? Or is it the intelligence within me that knew that to begin with? I just been clouded because I was either had too much tamas or rajas. I wasn't able to see it clearly. Where did that come from? And I still don't know, because I'm questioning. I'm like, how is it possible that I have all the right things? Not always right, but you get inspiration, you get knowledge, and it's like, did that come from my mind, or was that maybe I had an experience previously and it kind of popped up, filtered through my memories, and I had that experience again? I don't know. It'd be easy to just say, oh yeah, it was a gift from God, but my questioning mind questions it, right? It's like this, the intellectual mind is full of doubt. And so, but I just go with it, you know, I go with it and I try to make the best choices. But if it serves you, it sounds like that's a great message. It doesn't sound like a diluted message that's going to lead you the wrong way. It sounds like a great message to have. What was your message again?
Close your eyes, child.
And then there was another part to it.
No, that was it. I was we were in a sweat lodge. It was completely dark, you know. Yeah, it was just a beautiful voice telling me to, even though I was already seeing complete darkness, my eyes were already closed. I had this audible message, and I thought it was profound for me, and I thought it was worth sharing.
And that is all that matters. So one of the things one of my meditation teachers said is that it's hard to talk about your experiences in meditation with other people. Because it's really subjective and it's really for your benefit. Ramaswamy says that the sole purpose of our chitta, your chitta, my chitta, everyone's chitta, it's the sole purpose of your chitta is to serve you. That is the sole purpose. It's not, my mind isn't here to serve you, it's here to serve me. Likewise, your mind is there to serve you. So if it's giving you information that's going to serve you, it's really all that it's meant to do. It's not meant for others. So when you start sharing things, and I'm not saying don't share in this setting, but if you're in the outside world and you know, a colleague or a friend, and you try to explain to them what you're experiencing in your meditation, they're probably gonna look at you like you're kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're in a like community here, Sangha, but and so we can talk about these things, but it's not. I don't talk about my meditations to anybody,
right?
Unless my ego's trying to impress them or something, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to share, because I haven't shared that other than with Dana. So
that's awesome. I thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
I would classify that as vikalpa.
Yeah,
not Samadhi.
And just to piggyback off the dreamlike state, I've had a dream about 15 years ago where I was every character in a movie, and I thought it was an interesting dream, and I've never forgotten it.
That you were every character in your dream? That's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
See, in a lot of our dreams, we identify with specific characters, sometimes the villain, sometimes the hero, you know, sometimes a bystander, sometimes a witness. We have these experiences in our dreams. Elvis Presley, have you guys seen Elvis? What did he identify with?
A rock star?
He was always the king. He was always like the what was it? You remember what he identified with? You guys saw the movie. That scene really stuck out with me. Yeah, it was a recent. Yeah, I think I saw it within the past year. But yeah, he said he goes, yeah, whatever. Every time he would read these comics, he'd identify with the hero or the king, the guy who saves the day. And what did he become in life? The king. Yeah, I mean, watch it again. Anyways, but so that with that said, it's interesting that you said you identified or you were all the characters.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You know, contemplate on that. I wonder what that means. It's unique.
I have for 15 years, so still. Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, again, this is just a shot in the dark, but maybe you're one with all. One for all and all for one. It's interesting, right?
It is.
Huh? What movie what? What movie were you in?
I was in my own animated movie, and I was an eagle and a group of crocodiles and a horse. Yeah. It was
those are all the poses. Those are all, say that again. Which poses? I mean, those are poses.
Those are poses, but I wasn't practicing yoga at the time. But I was an eagle, a crocodile, a group of crocodiles, and a horse.
A horse. That's second series. It says, except it's not eagle, it's cow face. That's
Yeah.
second series. Ashtanga second series postures. That's crazy. That's towards the end.
Yes.
Anyways, so it's like you do cow face, jump over the fence, gate pose, horse pose, crocodile pose. Anyways, that's interesting. All right.
Thank
Any
you for-
other comments? What?
Thank you for allowing me to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to share or ask something?
So you mentioned that when you meditate, that things kind of pop up. So maybe I'm just splitting hairs, but does that mean that, and kind of words are not proper, does that mean since you can get everything quiet, you drop in somebody for a moment and then come out when you experience that answer and then drop back into somebody because it goes quiet again? Is that how you would characterize that?
Did you guys hear that? Okay. No? Can you come say that into the mic?
I don't know if I can say that again.
Yeah, I know.
I had like a really good thought. Come on.
Chittavrittis, they're fleeting
They're
sometimes.
fleeting. So were they,
You can say
which
it.
one, where? Okay, so what I asked was that Ricky mentioned that he drops into meditation and it's quiet, but then the answers pop up and then he drops back into quiet. So my question was, is it samadhi for a little bit of time? And then you come out of samadhi when you get the answer and you experience something and then you drop back into samadhi after that.
You guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I don't know that if it's samadhi. All I know is that it's quiet.
Okay.
So
So then how do you know it's samadhi?
I don't know it's samadhi.
Okay.
Just yeah, I don't know that it's samadhi. All I know is that it's quiet. And it very well could be, but if I say that it's samadhi, that's my ego saying it's samadhi. So I don't know that it's really samadhi. So let's just not label it that. What I do know is that there's a period of quietude, and it's sort of like you ever watch sparkling water, club soda, Sprite? You watch the clear glass, and all of a sudden, bubble just appears out of nowhere. And then if you keep watching it long enough, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it frees itself from the side wall, and then it floats up. That's what happens in my mind. So when it's quiet, there are no bubbles, but the bubbles just start very small. Kind of like, another example is kind of like if I'm staring at the sky, and it's a blue sky. It's clear mind, blue sky. And if I stare long enough, I'll see a cloud start to form. You ever see that happen? They form out of nowhere, but they form. You can see it form if you catch it at the right moment, and then they get bigger and they get bigger, and then they change form. They might spiral a little bit, and then you keep watching for about 20 or 30 minutes, and next thing you know, there's this huge cloud that just appeared out of nowhere. That's what happens in my mind. These thoughts come. If I give it attention, it can go into this crazy fantasy, or I can say I can notice it and but I notice it sort of like, so like, you know, when you're in a trance state and your eyes don't move, but you see everything. You know, when you blur your vision, you know what I'm talking about? When you blur your vision, your eyes don't move, but you go from sort of tunnel vision to panoramic kind of. So when I'm in my mental state, in my meditation,
I'm hungry, I'm sorry. There's someone that's just loud. Why is somebody talking to you?
So when I'm in my meditation and it's quiet, I'm still and I'm unaffected. I'm sort of in a trance state. And if the thought comes, I don't focus on it. I stay in that sort of unaffected state. Does that make sense? And then it'll come and then it'll go. But if I look at it, or I try to, like you're doing, you're trying to look at it and focus on it, it goes away. Is that what you're saying, Danielle? So you look at it. For me, it doesn't go away. It might get bigger and move into some other fantasy or another memory or something like that. Make sense? So I just I don't react to it. And then it goes away like a bubble, gone. And if it keeps coming, if the same bubble comes up, the same thought, and it comes up in the same way every time, it starts to form, it does a spiral, whatever it is. I'm giving an analogy here, but it comes up and it's the same thing. It's sort of, so like Oprah Winfrey says, she has a quote. I'm not going to butcher it. I'm going to look it up because I have access to Google. Oprah Winfrey quote, universe speaks brick. Okay, here it is. For years, here, I'm going to share the screen. I think this is it. For years, I've noticed that the universe speaks to us in whispers. If we ignore the whispers, we get pebbles of warnings. If we still don't pay attention, we get bricks of problems. And if we're really hard-headed, eventually the entire brick wall comes crashing down. It's the same thing that happens in our meditation. It's so when I have an experience of a particular thought, it comes up, it's quiet, it's small, right? And if it comes up a few times, 3, 4, 5 times, I know that it's important. If I get random bubbles of thoughts here and there, then I don't really care. It's the repetitive thoughts that are pressing and concerning. You know, like if you've got, oh, I've got to get this in, I got to get this in, deadline's coming, it'll keep coming. And then you got to go and take care of it. And then you come and do your meditation again and it's gone. And something else happens. And so, and these are the results of my previous experiences. I have a memory of these experiences. I have an expectation, a goal, an intention. And if I have pressing questions, answers will arise. Albert Einstein, a lot of his conclusions and discoveries and realizations, if you will, came up in deep meditation and or dreams. You guys ever read about Albert Einstein or know about his life? A lot of it came out from his dreams and meditations. So it's really being able to pay attention and quiet your mind. He was you guys know he was vegan as well? Vegan and vegetarian. Yeah. He was a beautiful soul. So I think a lot of people nowadays we're not going to be able to meditate and have a quiet mind for an extended period of time because we have duties, responsibilities, family, work, and all that. And if we experience a little bit of quietude, something's going to come up. A little bit of quietude, something's going to come up. It's not until we get into a stage of life where our kids are grown or we decide not to have kids, where we commit fully to the practice that we can experience longer states of quietude and have these realizations. I had these experiences back then when I didn't have responsibilities. I didn't have a yoga studio. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have pets. All I had was a mortgage that was actually being paid because I had roommates. And so I was sort of in this position, a very unique situation that I was lucky enough to create where I could sit for a long time without worrying about things. Does that make sense? So if you can simplify your life to the point where you don't have many worries, then you can experience and you can get closer to experiencing quote unquote samadhi. But until then, you're going to be bombarded with things to do. Things to do. Okay? It's my story. Sticking to it. What else, guys? Did I answer your question? I'll take one more question, comment. Sarah?
I got nothing.
No?
I'm sorry.
You're hungry? Did you say you're hungry? Okay.
But I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it's fine. Okay, so then I want to take a moment here and talk about teaching meditation. All right, so Andrea had a question when she walked in saying, you know, how do I teach meditation? I've never taught meditation. If you're going to teach meditation, make it simple. First and foremost, it needs to be simple. Simple and doable. It doesn't need to be entertaining. It doesn't need to be entertaining. Don't make that mistake of trying to make it entertaining. It just needs to be, I mean, if you're going to teach meditation according to Patanjali, and this is where I'm teaching from, right? Different schools will teach the meditation differently. You pick an object, whatever object it is. The only caveat, the only requisite is that it needs to be uplifting. It needs to be uplifting. So according to Patanjali. Now, meditation on the breath, I don't think is necessarily uplifting, but I don't think it's the opposite either, right? But if it's like a mantra, for example, the mantra needs to be uplifting. Yes, sir, Pete.
Did you call that an anchor before? Is that the
Same
thing as
thing.
an anchor?
Yes, anchor. I use the word anchor like a seed. Anchors the mind. Why do I use that word? Your mind is like an elephant's trunk. Your mind is like an elephant's trunk. It's wild. It's strong. It'll knock you over. It can pick you up and throw you, right? They can uproot trees with their trunk. It's just pure muscle. Well, how does an elephant trainer control an elephant's trunk? A little person that an elephant can easily snap in half. How does an elephant trainer control the elephant's trunk? With a stick, of course. But do you beat the elephant with a stick? No. You give the elephant the stick to hold. So the trunk will pick up the stick, and while it's holding the stick, it cannot pick anything else up. Like if you're walking an elephant through a market, its trunk is free, it's going to pick up a coconut, it's going to pick up a banana, it's going to pick up this and that. But if it's holding a stick, it can't pick anything else up, and that's what a mantra or an object does for your mind. So it anchors or seeds the mind.
Do you feel like you can do a mantra, but then your mind you're repeating your mantra in your head, but then your mind starts running still in the background? Or the mind in the background, the mind in the forefront.
Okay, so Danielle says, what if you're repeating a mantra and then your mind is running in the background?
Yeah, or vice versa. The mantra's in the background, your mind's running.
Okay.
You're both in your head. Now you got two things going on.
Right. So then, so did you guys hear what she said? What if you're meditating and you have a mantra, but then you have your mind running in the background? That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Your job is to stay with the object. Don't jump around, because what happens is you have like a bunch of monitors, or I'm sorry, a bunch of browsers open, like having 10 browsers open, but you want to concentrate on one. And the more you concentrate on one, the more likely the other ones will quiet. But if you keep feeding each seed or each, seed of thought or storyline or whatever, then they get powerful. Again, they get powerful, or in your case, sometimes they go away. If you can master that quality, then you have all these things, just focus on it, make it go away. Then you'll quiet your mind.
Those are things I don't know that are running. If I know what it is that's running and I focus on it, oh boy, it's just.
Yeah. So then so the idea is to pick something and just focus on it. Stay with it so that other things don't distract you. Know that they're just, all those stories that are running are called samskaras, patterns and tendencies. Your mind is on a loop. Everyone's mind's on a loop. It's like a tape that's CD. It's a CD. Well, not CDs anymore, whatever. It's a track that's on repeat. It's a bunch of tracks on repeat. Our lives are nothing more than a bunch of loops. You wake up, you start the wake up program. You start up the driving program, you start whatever program, and then there are little changes here and there unless something traumatic happens, then you'll have a major change. But otherwise, everything is about the same every single day, isn't it? Mostly the same for all of us. And if it's not the same, you're probably going crazy or feeling like you're going crazy, because it's like, there's no certainty. You freak out. Then you try to create some certainty. There's too much certainty, then your mind freaks out. So it's like, how do you win, right? So just learn to quiet the mind, quiet the mind. There's going to be a level of certainty and uncertainty for everyone's life. Just learn to be calm. Learn to be calm. Be the eye of the storm. There's going to be a lot of chaos in your life. Always. There's always going to be chaos. The weather, and then some days it's like the weather. Some days it's clear. Some days it's stormy. Some days there's a tornado. Some days there's a hurricane. But if you can be in the center of it all, unfazed, unchanged, Purusha, in the face of Prakriti, then you can, one, see the truth in it. But if you're like lost and like swirling around in the tornado or swirling around in the hurricane, you don't know which way is up, which way is down, right? Oh, I need to ground myself. I need stability. I need tamas. I need some tamas in my life, stability, so I can see better. I need a good vantage point. Yes? And that's what meditation does. It puts you in a state of Purusha where you're still and you're seeing everything. Was that a question? Did I answer somebody's question? Okay. I brought it up to answer my own question.
Oh, I asked the question about the mantra. If you have, or, yeah, that was.
Oh yes, we're talking about teaching meditation.
Oh yeah.
So, so you pick an object, whatever object that may be. What I use breath. So easy because everyone has it. Simple, it's there. And then more complex would be like mantra, going into chakra meditations. Now that's just like getting a little too much for me. It's a lot. I try to keep things simple. Simple is best. I'm going to share with you 2 ways to teach someone to meditate. The way I learned to meditate was with mala beads. I'm going to be right back. Let me go grab my mala beads.
The seeds, the traditional seeds?
No, they're not traditional. About.
Sure.
I have some of the, or I don't know, I think over there are the traditional ones from like India.
Yeah.
And they like tell you that they're like, yeah.
They really, they have a lot of ridges on them,
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
then the more, you're like true yogi, right, they're smooth.
These are my some of my mala beads. I haven't used all of them. I've given a lot of them away actually. So the mala beads typically should have 108, and then they call this the guru bead, the one with the tassel, whatever you call it. And you repeat a mantra. So I was given a mantra to repeat, and you start at the beginning, and you don't do it on the index finger. I was told 2 different ways. You do it on the ring finger. But I learned on the middle finger. It's just as fine. So every time you repeat the mantra, you count 1. Repeat the mantra, count 2. Every time you repeat the mantra, repeat the mantra, repeat the mantra. This way, there's something tangible, something that you can touch and feel. Otherwise, you're left to your own devices when you go inside your mind, and then next thing you know, you're fantasizing about something, right? So you have this mantra. You sit, you close your eyes to make sure you're seated properly, either in a chair or on the floor, and you repeat, 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 repeat. And then once you get around to 108, you've done 1 round of mantras. 1 round, 108. Depending how long the mantra is, it could be 10 minutes, for you to go one round. Like that, okay? And then what's going to happen is you'll go through, and then you're like, oh, your mind jumped somewhere else. Oh, bring it back, or you forget completely. You're off somewhere. You're like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be meditating, and you come back to it. It happens, but over time you'll be able to get to get back around to the guru bead. Then you flip it, and you go back the other direction. 2nd round, 3rd round. So every time you get to the guru bead, you flip it. You flip it. If you're gonna sit around, if you're gonna do, 12 rounds, 12 times. So now you get your left hand to count. 1. And you've got these ridges, or sorry, these lines in your fingers, the knuckles. You can count there. You know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Does it make sense? You can count by the ridges. That's how the Asians do it. My dad does it like that. My Ramaswamy did it like that. Did someone say something just now?
I was gonna say, you start bottom up or top up, if that makes sense, with the bead. Rolling it down or rolling it up?
I mean, starting like on the finger,
No,
however
no.
you like. My dad,
Moving the beads
Right, you know the beats
down,
down.
away from you or towards you?
towards me, towards me, like that. But yeah, you can just count anyway. Some people count with the fingertips, second, first line, third line. You do that, you have 3, or you can go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 per finger. And you can do the math in your head while you're doing this, and then keep track of where you are. Paul, you nodded your head. Is that, did you have an experience where you had an Asian person count like that?
You.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. The reason I say that is because Paul spent some time in Singapore. Okay, so and Ramaswamy counted like that too. Now David Williams, he taught me to count in a different way, and it works as well. It's 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Fist is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now instead of dealing with numerology, right, multiples of 3 or 4, 3 is really what you want to deal with when it comes to auspicious numbers, but not 5s, multiples of 5. But David's not Indian, he's white, his last name's Williams, and he taught me to count like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, so forth. So anyways, different ways to count. All right, so that's one way to teach meditation.
Next question.
Yes.
Since you just brought up numerology and auspicious numbers, is there a reason why the Ashtanga practice you count to 5? So I've thought of this many times.
Okay.
I haven't asked that question.
So Peter's question is dealing with numbers, and he wants to know why we count to 5 or 5 breaths. Very good question, very valid question. Patabi Joyce was asked that one time, why 5? And he goes, Westerners like 5. There's no reason. When he started teaching the sun salutations to David Williams and Nancy Gilgoff back in the day, it was 10. He was just trying to get people to memorize it and build stamina. So first 10, once you're able to do 10 without stopping, then you could drop down to 5. After you were doing 5 and 5 and you had the stamina, then you did 3 and 3. So it depends on who you talk to, but most people weren't around that time. So I got this directly from David Williams, who was there. Nowadays, it's just 5 and 5. Why? Westerners like 5. So it has nothing to do with numerology or auspicious numbers. Good question. You guys get that? Has no meaning. 5 sun salutation has no meaning. Okay. But humans, we like to place meaning where we don't understand something, yeah? We do that a lot, don't we? We try to place meaning on things. Our minds like to fill in the gaps. And people who practice Ashtanga tend to want to understand or want to know or imagine or know that they're connected to something much greater than themselves. Some long, ancient tradition, which it is. It's old, but it's not what I think modern practitioners think. Okay, there's an article online, you can look it up. It's look up the so-called tradition of Ashtanga Yoga, written by one of the old Ashtangis. the original ones, the so-called tradition of Ashtanga Yoga. Right. Okay. So that's one way to teach meditation. Choose an object, have mala beads, because it makes it tangible. Now, the second way to meditate, this is when you don't have mala beads. It's called anapana. A-N-A, anapana, P-A-N-A. Anapana meditation. It's from the Buddhist tradition. So I just shared with you yoga tradition with the beads. Buddhists use beads too, but it is rumored to be Buddha's first meditation that he taught was Anapana meditation on the breath. Ana means breath. So meditation on the breath. And the way they do it is they have you concentrate on the opening of your nose, the rings of your nostrils, your eyes closed, of course. You concentrate on the rings of the nostrils. You use these words, rings of the nostrils, and then the passageways of the nostrils. And that includes the base of the upper lip. So it's this triangular shaped area. I'm giving you all the words right now. It's the base of the upper lip, the rings of the nostrils, and the passageways of the nostrils. And you tell them to stay with it continuously, arduously. What does arduously mean? With effort. With effort. And then you keep it quiet. So you give them the instructions, and then you be quiet. You have to get yourself out of the way. The teacher has to get themselves out of the way. The teacher's role disappears when the student goes inward. The teacher is an external object. The teacher goes away. If you continue to talk to them while in their meditation, you distract the hell out of them, and you're not allowing them to meditate. So you must get out of the way. And at that point, your job is to hold sacred space. Is to make sure everything stays quiet. You yourself stay quiet. Don't fidget. Don't, mess with things. Because if the room is absolutely quiet and you scratch, people are going to hear it. Especially if you're really still. And that's the idea. You want everyone really still. So you keep everything quiet as possible. You want to be in control of the entire, of all the things, lights, sound, temperature, if the fan's blowing too loud or whatever, as much as you can. But, being in a big city, we're lucky in Dallas. We have open spaces, and some spaces are quiet, but imagine being in San Francisco or New York or South Beach. It's now you have to really get in there and really have them concentrate. Remind them to concentrate. And if you do a good job preparing them, then you can get out of the way and then let them it's kind of like teaching someone to ride a bicycle with training wheels. At some point, you let them go, right? You start them off and then you let them go. Concentrate on the rings of the nostrils. As you breathe in, notice that you're breathing in. As you breathe out, notice that you're breathing out. That's a key phrase there. Know that you're breathing in. Know, be aware of it. As I breathe in, okay, I'm breathing in. Okay, there you go. Okay, now I'm breathing out. I notice I'm breathing out. But more specifically, where am I breathing out? At the rings of the nostrils, through the passageways of the nostrils. And then you can even feel the breath hitting your upper lip. Not so much if you have a mustache, but other people can. Because if you don't have, if you're shaved, you can really feel the air, the breath brush the skin. And you get so attentive that you start to notice there's a lot of biophysical stuff happening, biochemical stuff. You have your olfactory glands, you got your nose hairs, I don't know what they call them, cilia or whatever. And then you have, and then nose hairs usually grow out. So it's against the grain. You know, you breathe in, it goes against the grain. You breathe out, it goes with the grain. You can kind of feel all these things happening if you pay attention. If you pay attention. And the sensations that come up are tingle, numbness, tickle, itch, the same thing, yeah, warmth, coolness, dryness, wetness. You can feel all these things happening there. And you just observe it. Well, I don't know, there's nothing going on. I don't know. Really? Your inhalations are going to be cooler than your exhalations by about 1 or 2 degrees. It's measurable. It's actually measurable. So you say these things and have them just really become focused on this triangular shaped area. But you give them those instructions and then you stop and you be quiet for a period of time. You can make sure you have a clock handy so you can see what time it is. And you can take them out with a bell or something. It's nice. You can always use your voice, but it's, you know. 3 dings. Give it some time. Just take them out really slowly. Doesn't always work out that way. You know, sometimes something happens. Someone walks into the room, or someone sneezes, or someone snores. That happens all the time. They're meditating. Oh no, they're sleeping. I'm pretty sure they're sleeping. They're sleeping. But so yeah, 2 ways with mantra. And so the mantra that I was given, I had given both mantras that were given to me were Shiva mantras. How odd, or not odd. Shiva is known as Adi Yogi, first yogi, Shiva, 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 Shambho, Shiva, 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 Shiva. So the first mantra was given by Dharma Mitra, and it was just Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. That was the mantra I was given. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Just keep repeating Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. That's not really the mantra. When if you go to Himalayan yogis, they say Om's not part of the mantra. It's actually Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. But the Westerners had kept the Om. Usually Om is chanted at the beginning of the mantra, and then the mantra is chanted. Om is not part of the mantra. Om is a mantra in itself. Yeah, with me? Anyways, but that's what I was given first. And Om Namah Shivaya, and it works. You can do mantra with or without meaning. So oftentimes, if you do mantra meditations, you have people asking questions. And if they're asking questions, they're not meditating. The mind is known as a question maker. It's always asking questions. So I try not to do mantra meditations unless I'm in like a setting like this where I have time to explain what I don't want to explain anymore. I just want to do the practice. So the breath meditation is the easiest. No one's going to question the validity or the, I don't know, demons or whatever, right? So breath meditation seems to work. But if it's mantra meditation, I think it's a little more powerful. It's a little something more tangible. You've got the mantra, the mala beads. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You can do it with or without meaning, mechanically. You just repeat it mechanically. Again, it's the stick. It's the stick with meaning or the stick without meaning. The stick. The stick is the mantra. What does mantra mean? Man means mind. Manas means mind. Tra means tool. So it's tool for your mind. Mantra means tool for your mind. Some people say it means that which protects the mind. It occupies the mind. It protects the mind by creating sort of a barrier for other thoughts to not enter. Does that make sense? So in that way, it does protect the mind, but it's really the tool for the mind. It's a stick for the mind. It's a stick for the elephant's trunk. And so you repeat the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And then you have the storylines and all the other things that are happening outside the mantra. You with me, Danielle? All the other things are happening. The imagination, the dream, the memories. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Oh, I'm hungry. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. I'm hungry. No, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah. I'm not gonna go there. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And at some point, your mind will say, "I've had enough. I have no power over this individual anymore." Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Now you're in quietude. Then you can stop the mantra. No mind. Then the mind is quiet. And it takes a long time. It takes a long time. It's fast if you do the right diet, the right sleep, the right practices, but we don't have that usually, right? We're bombarded by stressors and fires and emergencies and this and that and the other all the time. And so it's hard to get there. It's hard to get there. It's harder to stay there, right? So what is important in this day and age? I was in Houston one time and I had a bunch of moms, soccer moms in suburbia, and I was giving this lecture and I was like, look, we're not going to probably make it this lifetime, and it's okay. It's okay that we don't make it this lifetime, but if you do the practice, you're going to be able to engage in all the things that you do on a daily basis, with more presence, with more awareness, and with more truth. And if you can do that, then the quality of your life and the lives of your loved ones and colleagues and whoever you deal with, your immediate circle, is going to benefit from your clarity and your sense of calm and control of yourself. So while many of us may not reach the goal of yoga, we can take one step closer to the goal by taking care of our karma. Our karma. Our samskaras are nothing more than the sum of our karmas. That's exactly what samskara means. Samskara, patterns or tendencies. It's the sum of all our karmas. And so if we start to change the way we do anything, then we change everything. Because we do everything like we do anything, right? So some people think that this philosophy is irrelevant unless you're going to live as a yogi or a monk, and I say, no, it's not. I said, no, it's not. Everyone can benefit from this. My teacher says 1 in a million are even interested in reaching the goal of samadhi. 1 in a million are even interested. And of those who are interested, 1 in a million gets there. So don't be discouraged. Just keep walking the path. Just keep walking the path. Because spiritual knowledge is cumulative. You don't lose what you get. There's a saying that no experience is ever lost. Every experience you have in this lifetime is then imprinted in your chitta, in your memory. And it's gonna stay there. It doesn't go away. They just come up, and when we're surrendered, when we're relaxed, when we're in meditation, when we're not forcing it down, the bubbles come up. The bubbles will form in the mind, and then they will come up when we least expect it, right? When you're in meditation, when you're relaxed. I was teaching a 2-week training in Puerto Rico, and there was a girl from St. Thomas there. Has ever been? Yeah, St. Thomas?
Yeah, St. John's, but so you go through St. Thomas.
Yeah, I've never been there. That's just Puerto Rico. But the girl was and she was, I think, British or something, but she was there, and during the first day or second day, and we were in Shavasana. It was like a blissful Shavasana out in the tropical mountains, and she lets out this like blood curdling, skin crawling scream, like someone was killing her, and we're like, what the? And it was like in Shavasana, everyone was out, and we're like, whoa, maybe it's just a nightmare. And it happens again, and always happens when she's either in Shavasana or we're doing meditation. And then we had to talk to her and figure out what it was. She had some trauma. The trauma, it's an imprint in the chitta. Every experience leaves an imprint in your chitta, and it's going to come up as a bubble, as an experience when you least expect it, when your guard is down, when you're relaxed. That's why a lot of us tend to stay busy, so we can keep the stuff from coming up. Yeah? And so when we meditate, it's like turning on your oven to self-clean. It's turning up the heat. It's going to get uncomfortable. You want to get all those bubbles to come up. And your job as a meditator is to not react or respond to it. Don't even respond. Don't react. First thing, you want to control your reactions. And then secondly, you want to control responding, because you're going to want to respond. Don't respond. Let it burn up. You're turning your oven on self-clean. You watch it up. You watch the fear. You watch the pain. Whatever it is, you watch it, and you watch it go away, like a balloon floating off into the sky. So it starts off as a bubble, and it turns into a balloon, and you say bye-bye. It'll still be there, but it won't be as powerful. Your goal is to take your power back. Take your power back. To free yourself from the tyranny of your own mind. It's a tyrant. Isn't it? Yes. You don't want to give your dog control. It's like you see people walking their dogs, or rather their dogs are walking them. You want to tame your mind, tame the tiger, take back your power. So one way is to repeat mantra. The other way is to concentrate on your breath. There are many other ways, but just at this level of your training, do that. But first, do it yourself. I don't know if you're gonna. How long is the meditation, Andrea?
I think it's 5 minutes.
If it's 5 minutes, then you practice for 10.
Yeah.
You practice 10-minute meditations, and then you go back and you teach from experience.
Yeah.
Krishnamacharya said that you teach the student in front of you, not as it pertains to you, but as it pertains to them. But you use what you know. You teach what you know. You don't teach what you don't know. You teach what you know to the student that's in front of you as it pertains to them, not as it pertains to you. So you do the practice, see what it's like to do the mantra or the meditation, the breath meditation. And you've probably had me delete it before. I'll talk for about 3 minutes probably, and then quiet for 5. So then you want to be near a clock, going back to where I was a while ago. You want to be near a clock or see a clock, and you don't have to fumble with your stuff on your phone to see what time it is, or you can set a timer. If you set a timer, then you can meditate with them. Just make sure that when it comes out, it's not right. It's something soothing, ding dong, bells or whatever. So I'll do that. I put people in meditation, and I go there too, and I watch my wild mind. Or I watch my quiet mind, one or the other. Not every day is the same, right? Like, that's a wild today. Stay with the mantra or stay with the breath. Do not engage. I would not engage too much in conversation about the meditation, because then you'll have different types of people who are like, oh, well, I don't want to share that. It's very personal. I don't want to share it. And then you have the overshare. They just want to share everything, and they want to impress others about with the experience they just had. It's like, we don't need to go there, right? We don't need to go there. If you're with a new group, maybe leave them that. Say, hey, look, whatever experience you had in your meditation is very personal. You don't need to share it. I actually can encourage you not to share it unless you have a therapist you want to share it with. But we're not therapists, and we're not here to dream analyze or meditation analyze. Now we're just letting the mind go wild again. So just if you enjoyed what you did, continue practicing it or keep coming to class. That's how I would approach it. Yeah, thank you. I have a clock.
I was like, I just raised it. I couldn't.
Yeah. So we didn't really get a chance to get to the second chapter. Did I answer your question about
Yes.
teaching meditation? Did that make sense, you guys, about teaching meditation? Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let's do a short meditation. So find a comfortable seat. If you are here in the room, when it gets too comfortable, it's hard to meditate.
Come on, what are you talking
Yeah. So ideally, you sit up nice and tall. I would suggest.
That's okay. You can touch. I don't know. I guess. What's on the floor?
Yeah, but you don't have anything. We have cushions, so you can either, let's just get to it. We don't have much time. Let's just get to it. Find a comfortable seat. You can support your back anyway. Put your head on straight. Close your eyes. Let's go ahead and drop in. So you make your commitment to be still. To not scratch the itch. To not Open the eyes. You can sit on the floor if you want. Yeah. Yeah, and in the beginning of any meditation, you're gonna have people rustling, rustling, all that. So be okay with that. And as everyone starts to quiet down with their eyes closed, they're gonna focus on your voice. And you don't want to talk too fast. You start to slow down your pace. Pace is very important. And at this point, people are focusing on the words that are coming out of my mouth. I want to use my words to get you to focus on your breath. So bring your attention to the tip of your nose. And as you breathe in, notice that you're breathing in. And as you breathe out, notice that you're breathing out. There's no control of the breath. It's just your natural breath. Just allow it to do whatever it's going to do. You follow the breath up the passageways of the nostrils, down the passageways of the nostrils. In that triangular shaped area, the base of the upper lip, to the spot between your eyebrows. Keep your attention there continuously. Arduously. For the next 3 minutes. And I'll take you out with a bell. And keep your eyes closed. I like to have the students rub their hands together with the eyes closed until the hands get hot. And then cup the eyes and transfer the heat through the eyelids, and then open the eyes in the darkness of the hands, and then slowly come back out. So that's how I like to teach it. If I was to talk about anything during the meditation, I would maybe bring in my experience. And my experience was just now, the house creaked a little bit. You guys notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you notice it?
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't hear it at all.
I don't know, I might have heard it now that you mention it, but that wasn't the
Could have been imagination.
could have been imagination.
Yeah. So did you hear it? So there are two. Did you heard it over there too? So we only have 3 minutes. We couldn't have gotten really deep. Okay, we're gonna go a few minutes over, you guys. If you saw the video of the quantum physics, the material world, Prakriti, like everything that exists here in this realm, is sort of at the top of the diagram. And as you start to go deeper and deeper, you start to you go to the atomic level, or the nuclear level, and then down into the, remember guys? You guys remember this video? You guys saw the video, right? And then at the very bottom, you have the unified field, which is infinite silence, infinite possibility, as Deepak Chopra likes to call it, infinite consciousness. It's from that place that everything arises. The act of observing changes things at that phase, in the quantum level. So that's where we're going when we practice meditation. We're going down into the subatomic nuclear, subatomic particle, quantum unified field place. 3 minutes it's hard to get there. In 3 minutes, you're still at the surface. Yeah. And so what I experienced is I heard whatever it is, the creaking of a house, and my nervous system reacted to it. Like there's a little bit of a jolt that happened. But whenever I'm really deep in meditation, to give me 20, 30, 40 minutes in, and I'm in the zone, but I'm not asleep, and I'm quiet, and I do hear it, I don't react. It doesn't jolt my nervous system. Does that make sense, you guys? You just you have to stay there a little longer. So you have to stay in that unreactive state a little longer. And then the more you stay in that state, the more you can take that state with you as you move about the world. So that's my experience. So today I felt the first one was like a little bit, and the second was like, whoa. And then I was like, oh, bring it back. Bring it back here. Because your attention will escape this little triangle here. It goes over there. No, bring it back. You want to corral your attention in this triangular shaped area. Literally corralling, confining your attention there. That's when you know you got control of the mind. Make sense? Okay. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaramuninam Patanjalim Pranjali Ranatosmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakrasi Dharinam Sahasrashirasham Shvetam Pranamami Pranamami Patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Namo Namaha. Thank you. All right, I'll post this on the on our private page, and I guess we'll start the second chapter on the next session. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.